So here I would like to welcome Colton Lukey, and Colton is a real estate investor from Niagara region, and today we are going to discuss about how to get financial independence in your 30s.
Hey everybody, thank you very much for having me.
So Colton, I know like you have started in your early 20s. That's a great thing you have done. So let me ask you some questions so our viewers will understand and learn from your journey. Could you describe your real estate investment journey and what made you to get into this?
Yeah, for sure. So I have always kind of been entrepreneurial. As a kid, I would buy and sell sports cards, Pokemon cards, stuff like that. And then as I got older, I kept hearing a similar topic that, I wish I would have bought more real estate, or I wish I would have had more rental properties. I wish. And then that kind of stuck with me and didn't do too much with that knowledge or that until I got to college. And it wasn't until a professor who didn't necessarily teach economics and business out of a book. He taught real life economics and business. And we had a class about real estate investing because he was a real estate investor himself. And he just laid out a simple formula that you buy a house with a basement apartment, you live in the basement and you rent out the upstairs and you live for free. And that was my light bulb moment. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I dedicated a ton of time to learning everything there was about real estate investing. There was obviously more things as well. There was obviously shows like Income Property, Scott McGillivray, and podcasts and YouTube videos. But that professor really started that you can live for free and own a home.
Yeah.
And from there, I took it and I ran with it. And that's how I was able to then do that and live for free, build a portfolio of rental properties.
It was worth of $1 million having the courses with him, huh?
Absolutely. That was the best education I ever got.
Yeah.
In my 3 years of that diploma program.
Yeah. What people or books have you had the most influence in your growth?
Yeah. So, obviously that professor has been a huge impact on me. We've kept in contact, but obviously you see behind me, I have a bunch of books for anyone who's starting out in real estate investing or that just want to learn more about personal finance. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki is the #1 book in my opinion. But I have to give like a huge thanks to YouTube. There's so many channels out there. I'll name a few, obviously Bigger Pockets. There's Nathan Birch, there's Matt McKeever. There's a whole bunch of individuals out there that talk about real estate. And I've used all that information to help build my real estate portfolio. And then the next big thing is networking, right? Meeting new individuals, like-minded individuals, because I'm a firm believer that you are the top 4 or 5 people you hang around with. So if you're hanging around real estate investors and successful people, chances are you're going to be successful as well.
Yeah, that's good. What type of real estate investment do you mainly invest in? Single unit residential or multi or commercial?
Yeah, so to date has been pretty much all long-term multifamily properties. So anything from 2 to 3 units. So I own a bunch of duplexes and triplexes. In 2020, I did our first flip, which was a success. Obviously nerve-wracking during a pandemic, but it worked out. And also I now started buying some land in the Caribbean as well, just to kind of diversify a little bit. But my bread and butter is long-term buy and hold rental properties that produce cash flow.
So where about buy and hold, you keep it in the Niagara region or you invest in other part of Canada as well?
Yeah, so all my rentals right now are all within the Niagara region, spread out between Fort Erie, Welland, and St. Catharines. I am looking outside of the province as well, but for now, all in the Niagara region.
I know sometimes it's good to stay in the province where you are already successful because the landlord and tenant rules are different province to province, right? I remember I was living in Ottawa. The properties in Hull, just across the river, was damn cheap. But I didn't invest there. Instead, from Ottawa, I was investing in North York, Oshawa, and other cities, right? Because Ontario, the landlord and tenant board, once you know the process and all the laws related, it is easier for you to handle that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a good point you brought up.
Yeah. What three main things does anyone starting out in the real estate investing should know before they start?
Yeah, so obviously I always tell people like you gotta dedicate 100% to real estate investing. You have to try and learn as much as you can, right? Once you understand how to property analyze a property, right, what to look for, it's very important that you also have to build a team, right? Because for me,
That's right.
when I first got started, I was just working with whatever realtor there was, and I went through, I don't know, probably 20 houses, never bought one because that realtor wasn't an investor focused realtor,
Mhm.
right? They just sold homes for everyday people, where I was looking for a specific type of real estate. And it wasn't until I met that specific realtor where my portfolio began to take off.
Yeah.
And the same can be said for a mortgage broker. You know, when you first get started, the big thing is, okay, I bank with this bank and my parents banked with this bank, so I'm going to get a mortgage under this bank because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
But that bank has one set of criteria.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way by, okay, got my first property. I want to get a second one. Okay, actually, you don't meet the qualifications to get a second property with this bank. So I thought, oh, what do I do now? Well, as you learn the game of real estate and you learn to work with mortgage brokers,
Yeah.
right, and mortgage agents, that team member right there has access to hundreds of different lenders with
Yeah.
hundreds of different criteria. So those, things to get started in real estate, you got to dedicate your time to it. You got to learn, you got to put in the work to learn actually how real estate works. But you got to start building a team, networking, have a good, solid, investor focused real estate agent, as well as a mortgage broker that also specializes in rental properties.
Yeah. I know sometimes when you deal with the real estate agents, you may need to educate them as well, right? Because as you said, if they are only accustomed to dealing with primary home buyers, then real estate investors, they are totally different type of people, right? Like
That's right. And
I
yeah,
have
and
bought properties even without looking at them.
right, exactly it. Right. Yeah. And I do some coaching now on the side as well. And one of the main, first questions I ask is, what realtor are you working with and how many rental properties do they own?
Mhm.
Right? Because they're in the same loop or they don't own a property yet, but they've gone through 10, 15, 20 properties, yet they're not working. The reason is because they're not working with an investor focused agent, right? And they're
Yeah.
not working with a investor focused broker.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get the right team around you, you notice that it's easy to get property 1, property 2, and then you go to 4, and then you go to 8, right? Very
That's
simple.
right. Yeah. So I want to pick your brain and what is the strangest or most interesting experience you ever had in the while you are investing in real estate?
Okay, so majority of my experiences have been pretty good, but there was times where I was looking outside of the Niagara region, and I was working with an agent that I never worked with before, and rougher city, and we went into a house that was not known to us as a drug house, and when you walk in, you see drugs on the table as well as a loaded handgun.
Mm.
And that was obviously a little nerve wracking, to say the least. Went through the property still, regardless
Yeah.
of it. Obviously made it out safely there, but that was a strange situation to be in,
I
knowing
hope you
that and
didn't buy
seeing
that
that.
property.
I didn't buy the property. I didn't want to inherit those headaches. But, other than that, most of my experiences have been pretty good in real estate. I mean, I've had to deal with the landlord tenant board for individuals not paying rent or
Yeah.
whatever it is. But I've never had an experience that has steered me away from real estate investing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And also sometimes the tougher tenants, uh, I always look at the positive side of it. I start to like them. You know what? Because from them you are learning a lot.
Exactly.
The nicer and great tenants, you're not going to learn much because they're going to pay you on time and everything nice and clean. But what are you learning, right? You won't learn anything.
exactly.
Tougher tenants, when they push you the maximum, you will learn a lot as well, right?
Oh, you learn a ton. Like first time I went to the landlord tenant board, right? And it was in 2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, I learned a ton, and I'm glad I did it, right? I'm glad I did it because now I know what to expect, right?
Exactly.
It was fantastic. Yeah. For whatever happened, it was good.
All kind of, and those kind of losses or any fees associated with that, you have to look at that as fees for learning, right? Tuition fees.
Yeah, that's exactly. I like the way you put that. Yeah, it's an education cost. That's exactly
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Now we are in 2021, and with the pandemic, second waves going through, how you have seen real estate market being affected by the pandemic?
Yeah, so the real estate market took a different way than 99% of people thought it would have, right? Like
Exactly.
everyone thought, including myself, that we were going to see an absolute collapse. And we still might. You never know, right? Like you never predict the market. But when I look back, it makes a lot of sense now why we're seeing a boom specific in like surrounding cities of the bigger cities, right? Like the Hamiltons, the Durham regions, the Niagaras. You know, when you drop interest rates as much as you did, you make people work from home and you give hundreds of thousands of people all this money, and there's all this money being injected into the economy, asset prices will naturally go up. So looking back, it makes sense. What do I see 2021? As long as interest rates stay low, which I think they have to, I think we're going to see real estate prices continue to go up in value, as well as other asset classes. Another factor is going to be that we're going to be letting in over 1 million new immigrants the next couple of years. And that's 1 million people that need a place to live. So I also think that that's going to drive the big boom in real estate. Now, do I think there's more short-term pain in the downtown condo Toronto area? Yeah, I do, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be stretched even thinner now that can't make that mortgage payment or those taxes or those utility payments, right? But I don't know if we're necessarily going to see a crash, right? I think we're seeing a reduction in condo prices. I think we're down 5% year over year. But, you know, when we went up 100% over the last 5 years, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? So, you know, for those people that are worried about 2021 and all this, I mean, buy a property that if it makes sense today, cash flow wise, it's going to make sense tomorrow. It's going to make sense 5 years from now and 10 years from now, right? So buy smart, always be smart on the buy because that's where you make your money.
At least if it is break even or positive cash flow, no matter what, you could weather it out, right?
Yeah, I believe so for the most part, right? I always, like all my properties, they have to cash flow no matter what. And they have to cash flow pretty good in order for me to buy them.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So nowadays, a lot of people are working from home, and downtown core, we already discussed about rental market is shaky, right? I remember I was talking with one of my friend in Silicon Valley, and he was saying in San Francisco, the rental price went down by 20%. Yeah. So many home buyers and investors are now looking at outskirts. What is happening in Niagara region?
It is insane here. Like we are seeing bidding wars like I've never seen. We had a huge boom in 2017, and it doesn't even compare to what's going on right now.
Wow.
Houses are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking. Houses that I paid $240 for last year are now selling for $500.
Are you serious? In a year, doubled?
It's insane. It makes no sense, and I mean it makes sense too. Obviously, because we're seeing thousands of people move into the Niagara region, but it doesn't make sense on an investment standpoint. We're seeing a per unit on, let's say, a triplex being listed for $300,000 a unit. Doesn't mean they're selling for that much, but they're not. They're being listed for that much. So it's crazy right now what we're seeing, and I'm having a very hard time finding deals. Let's put it that way, right? Because I'm not the type of person who's gonna. If I bought a property for $240 last year, I'm not going to pay $500 today for the same property, right? Because the rents aren't going up as much as the values, right? So that's what we're seeing in the Niagara region, and we're seeing a ton of building. Just about every new development for residential detached homes are sold out already. Right? You can't even get them. And it's a lot of people from the GTA that are coming down here and working from home and buying up, you know, they're selling their homes, or a big trend we're noticing is people that were renting for $4,000 a month in downtown Toronto can now buy a house with land for $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
Right.
They could still save $1,000.
and you
Yeah.
still save $1,000, and now you're actually sort of kind of getting ahead financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
that's what we're seeing in Niagara, and it's definitely not slowing down in the winter months. Usually we see a little drop off in the winter, and it's usually where you can find your best deals. Not yet. Not happening.
Wow. So you have just still hunting.
Still hunting. Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky that I've closed on a property in December. I'm about to close on another property in 2 weeks, but those were purchased, a few months back.
Oh, okay. Good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So that's the positive aspect of it. Sure, the properties got appreciated, so you could pull some money out of it and then reinvest somewhere else, right? So
Yeah. I mean, you look at it both ways. It's great for people who already own real estate
yeah,
because, again, like you just said, right, we're gaining a ton of equity. We can pull that money out. We can buy other assets.
yeah,
Hopefully buy other assets, right?
yeah,
I mean, right now, some of that money is just sitting there because there's nothing to invest in. That's why we're seeing a lot of people move out to different parts of Canada or different parts of the province,
yeah,
right? Try and get their money working somewhere else where it's a little bit more affordable.
yeah. So as a real estate investor, what is preventing you from growing your portfolio?
Deals. I
Deals, huh?
100% say it's still the deals. Yeah. And at the beginning of anyone's real estate career, I think it's money,
Yeah,
right? You get started with a very limited amount of capital.
yeah,
But as you start growing, the capital is always there now. You learn about private money. You have people that want to invest with you. And yeah, it's all about just trying to find deals now. If I could find deals, I could have 10 properties this year extra. But it's the problem right now with the booming market is we're not finding the inventory that we used to find,
yeah.
right? So that's the biggest obstacle right now. And I would say that's probably the biggest obstacle for most people within the Niagara region.
I know for experienced investors, if you have a deal, you could attract the capital.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a deal that makes cash flow. I can write a message to 3 or 4 people and I guarantee one of them will buy it up. If not, all 4 would want it. Right. But again, you got to find those deals.
Yeah. So my last question would be if there is an online platform for someone to learn about real estate investing and finding trusted service providers, creating power teams, collaborating via forum and more, would you be interested in using these kind of platforms?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've used, the Bigger Pockets forums. I've used Reddit forums. One of the main reasons I started my YouTube channel was to start a real estate community so people could talk in the comment sections, right? So I think online platforms are a fantastic resource, not just for real estate, but for anything personal finance related. And yeah, definitely always interested in new platforms that come up, right? There's so much information out there. There's so many people doing so many things that you could easily learn from.
Yeah, that's true. So we remember initially we were discussing about the power team and all sort of things, right? I used to have envelope full of business cards from each cities and also a spreadsheet with tabs with each cities and my contacts there, right? So what I have done was when I created BisRing, we have created a feature called My Virtual Team. It is absolutely free for real estate investors and they can create their power teams in the cities where they own. And it is absolutely a free feature. Yeah.
Yeah, I was checking that out earlier and it's definitely very interesting. And I think it's going to be a great resource to myself and a lot of other investors as well, because like you said, I don't want to write down 100 different contacts, right? Like I don't want to do that and I don't have time for that. And it's just, I'd rather have something online where boom, there's everything I need to know. And that's exactly what looks like you've developed. And yeah, I think it's a great resource for everything real estate related.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. It was a pleasure talking with you, Colton, and we'll catch up again. Thanks for your time and it's much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.